Dan Hancock, thank you so much for coming in, mate.
Thank you for having me. Made it here in one piece.
I know. You guys got stuck in Wigan, didn't you?
Of all places.
No one wants to be stuck in Wigan. People from Wigan don't want to be stuck in Wigan. I'm getting that out of the way early in the show. That anyone listening in Wigan, this is not the podcast for you.
We do apologise.
So tell me about your background. Obviously, I've done a little bit of research. I've seen what you're up to on social media. I've seen your company. I've seen your business. I've seen what an impact you're making in people's lives in a really, really positive way. How did that all kind of come about? Where did it start?
Yeah, thank you, mate. I appreciate that. So I've been in the fitness industry for 10 years. Had a typical upbringing in central Scotland where I used to love sports from an early age. Spent a lot of my time trying to navigate my undiagnosed ADHD as a young boy, which ended up getting myself into a lot of trouble with school and the police and things like that. But football was my outlet, sport was my outlet. I suppose I haven't actually really realised that until recently, that it was giving me something that I didn't get from day-to-day interactions with other people. I ended up attempting to go to university, dropped out about 3 or 4 times, dropped out of Stirling University, where I know your sister went to. And the one thing that was kind of lacking in my life at that moment where, I was going off the rails, I was drinking a lot, I was taking a lot of drugs. The one thing that was lacking was this kind of sense of freedom that I'd had when I was younger when I played sport. So I thought, look, I'm going to join a gym. I'll take this up. I've got nothing else to lose here. I'm going down a really, really, really bad path. And it saved me. It was the best thing I've ever done. I loved the feeling, and I thought, God, imagine if I could bottle this up and give this to other people. So I trained as a personal trainer about 10 years ago, and when I joined the fitness industry, it wasn't what I was expecting. I expected this to be like, oh, exercise is amazing, like let's help you improve your health. This is a no-brainer that you're going to come to me. I'll be able to support you through exercise. And all of a sudden, I realised that I was exercising for the wrong reasons. People coming to me were exercising for a lot deeper reasons than they were letting on or they were aware of. So I spent the next 5 years of my time uncovering what those reasons were. I uncovered that majority of people coming to exercise were struggling with their mental health, whether it was really bad chronic anxiety, depression, low self-worth, body image issues. But when they came to hire a coach, they weren't aware of that. They didn't know that. So I started to gather more evidence, I started to ask more questions, I started to ask better questions, and I started to develop these methodologies where I could understand why people were coming to me and then use exercise as a tool to promote positive mental health. So long story short, I did that for a few years, built a ton of evidence, did so much research, and I started to showcase some of my results online, and people couldn't quite believe it. I couldn't quite believe it. I started to get people messaging me from all over the country saying, like personal trainers saying, this is incredible, like how can we do what you do? But a mental health qualification for fitness professionals did not exist. So I created one, and that took us up to about 4 years ago with the launch of the award in mental health and exercise coaching.
Wow. That's a hell of a journey, dude. There's a lot to unpack there.
I've been through it.
But actually, often I think the best teachers and the people who have the most sort of knowledge to pass on to people and make a real impact in people's lives are often people that have been through shit themselves, it seems to me. I mean, everybody that I've, that's had an impact on my life has had to, have a really hard look at themselves at some point and ask themselves some really tough questions. So it's amazing that you've been able to kind of turn that into something super positive and a viable business. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How do you, when people come to you, when clients come to either personal trainers that you've helped develop or they come to you, how do you gauge success? Like, what does success look like for you? Because it's really easy. If you just go to a PT and you're overweight or whatever, there's a really easy kind of benchmark to see how well you're doing because you look thinner or you look stronger or you put on more muscle mass. What's the kind of gauge for that?
I'm so happy you asked this question. I'm so happy because this is the issue that so many people can't understand, whether it's the general public or whether it's personal trainers. Being able to measure someone by weight or by their physical appearance is such an easy thing to do, but it's such a damaging thing to do. Right? Because in my opinion, if you're teaching someone that they can only be happy once they've dropped X, Y, Z stone or dress sizes, that's you just essentially saying that you can't love yourself unless you look this certain way, or you're not good enough now. And that's what the research shows as well. But when and this kind of happened by accident, when I created my first mental health fitness program that was based on some of the evidence that I was uncovering with these clients, and I launched it online during lockdown. This is the one that got these results that I told you about earlier. I didn't have a way to measure things. And all I knew was that I didn't want to do before and after pictures. So I said, I will transform your life and we will not take one picture. And I made that promise before the program was created. The program didn't exist. I got people onto this program and said, I'm going to put you through this incredible 12-week challenge. And I literally made it up every single week as we went, because I just had to kind of put myself through that forced evolution to see what happened. And I'm so glad it did, because it pushed me into a corner and I had to be really innovative and creative when it came to the solution of what we're going to measure. And I can't remember exactly how it happened, but just one day I was speaking to my client and they were talking about how they felt after their first few weeks. And they were talking about not even things like feeling happier, but they were talking about how like their courage has improved, how their self-esteem has improved, how their relationship with their partner had improved. And I just took a step back and I was like, right, this is it. This is the things that we should be measuring. So I created this scale where essentially what we would have is, I called them at the time the byproducts of exercise, because they're not the real reason people come to exercise. But we call them the byproducts, and that's what we teach our coaches now on the award in mental health and exercise coaching. We call them byproducts. And essentially what we do is, when someone joins a program, we measure their levels of happiness, confidence, self-worth, self-esteem, relationship with food, body appreciation, all these things. It's a list of 15, but we've now expanded it to a list of 48. And we measure them out of 10. And it's so simple. And then after the next week, we'll measure them again. And the following week, we'll measure them again. And the following week, we'll measure them again. And because we're measuring them out from 0 to 10, in 12 weeks' time, we're having people come to us and they're able to say, when I joined this program, my confidence was 2, it's now 10. My confidence has improved by 80 percentage points.
Wow.
So now my coaches can get these results and advertise them online instead of a before and after picture saying, I helped Lydia transform her strength by 60%, her happiness by 80%, her self-worth by 90%. And that is way more, can I swear?
Yeah.
Fucking powerful than any before and after picture you'll ever see.
Yeah, well, because you're making a tangible difference. It's all very well and good going to the gym and looking after your nutrition. You know, we can all do that. There are kind of rules. There are guidelines in place, especially for nutrition. If you eat X amount and you walk X amount, you will lose weight. That's basic biomechanics. But I've never heard it broken down into actual tangible mental health and practices. I've never heard that, because the biggest thing for me, I similar kind of story to you really, in that wasn't taking the best care of myself at all, was not sleeping well, was not productive, was not confident. My self-esteem was on the floor. My libido was nowhere to be found. And going to the gym and starting consistency in the gym had such a profound effect on me in all of the aspects that you're talking about. And it's always interesting to me how, whether it comes first or it comes after, whether we go to the gym and then we feel better, or we start to feel better and then we go to the gym. And the longer that I take better care of myself, not only do they go, I don't think they go hand in hand. I think it's fitness first. I really do believe that getting out and about, walking, training, resistance training, lifting weights, I really feel like that is the starting point for everything.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, and we say this to a lot of people that maybe join our gym or join our online fitness program or go to train with one of our coaches all across the UK, is sometimes, unfortunately, I don't like it, but you need to be in a certain level of pain to make a change.
Yeah, right.
You do. You absolutely have to, because if you were feeling great about yourself, you're not going to wake up and be like, I fancy hiring a personal trainer, or I fancy changing my body image. You don't do those things when you're in a good place. So a lot of the time people do come from not necessarily rock bottom, but this place of kind of deep irritability with who they are at the stage of their life that they're at. And a lot of the time they blame that on their body image. because that's the easiest thing for them to blame, how they look on the external, because they believe, well, that's what other people are judging me from. But no, you're absolutely right. And when it comes to exercise success, there's quite a few different predictors for like long-term exercise success. And one of them is greater life satisfaction. So the greater stability that people have within their lives, external of the gym, out with the gym, the greater likelihood of them being able to stick to exercise long term. Which is why as PTs we need to teach that immediately, rather than thinking, oh well, you're coming to the gym but the whole rest of your life may be in chaos, let's just hope for the best. But the knock-on effect's incredible, and it's amazing that you started to feel that. And I suppose, if you don't mind me asking a question too, when you started that and you started to notice and feel these benefits, could you put your finger on what they were initially, or was it more just kind of like, I feel good, the gym makes me feel good? Or were you able to kind of really kind of identify, I was struggling with confidence, now because I can do things in the gym that I couldn't previously do, now I feel more confident?
I think it was accountability was the main one. Was if you're not taking care of your body and you're not exercising and your mental health is on the floor, and we know scientifically, we know now that there is a direct link between the two things. So for me, it was just I was completely on the floor. I was completely on the floor, and it was finding accountability. It was more than a routine's doing it a bit of a disservice. It was going, right, if I achieve one thing today, if all I do is one thing, and that one thing is I get up and I go to the gym for an hour and a half, even if the rest of my day I'm an anxious mess, and I'm still trapped in a really poor mental health, at least I've done that one thing and I'm accountable for that one thing. And then the beautiful byproduct of that, and I do completely hear what you're saying when you're talking about it's not about before and after pictures, but there is a beautiful byproduct of going to the gym for your mental health, in that you start to look a bit better naked. Like that, and that in itself gives you more confidence. All of a sudden, you see a little bit of definition, you're thinking, I did this, no one else. I dragged my sorry ass up out of bed. I stopped feeling sorry for myself, because I think self-pity is a huge one. I mean, you must have encountered so many people who just feel really, really pitiful. And I don't say that with any hint of nastiness or spite. It's brutal when you feel, it weighs really heavy, self-pity. But to start noticing little changes physically gives you a little bit more confidence. And I think, then you get into this lovely kind of loop of just, if I go to the gym, I'm then not going to drink myself half to death at night, because I know in my brain that is just ridiculous. I'm doing myself a disservice. So that accountability, I think, bleeds into more aspects of your life. When you encounter sort of, I don't want to say normal PTs, but
traditional PTs.
Traditional, thank you so much. That's the word I was looking for. Traditional. When you look at traditional PTs, and look, the fitness industry has exploded in recent years, hasn't it? I mean, it is huge, billions of pounds. When you see those traditional PTs and you encounter them and you know their methods and stuff, what are your overriding feelings? Obviously you think they could do better.
It's difficult because the fitness industry has been built on bodybuilding, right? The gym really up until the 80s, running wasn't a thing. Like, people didn't run
unless you were trying to fucking escape from something.
yeah, but it became a rage in the 80s. People didn't run. And if you're out running, people would be like, why are you running? And the gym was a typical thing. In America, they're still called gymnasiums, because a lot of the time, they were associated with either PE at school or maybe gymnastics. And not a lot of people, until there was kind of the big boom in bodybuilding and physique competing, would consider going to a gym. The issue is that that's so outdated now, because people don't just go to the gym to change their appearance. They go because they just want to feel better within themselves. They'll go because they're maybe learning a sport. They'll go because they want to socialise. They'll go because they want to improve their mental health, because they know these links that you've spoken about there. And the issue is that is one reason why people may go to the gym. right? And even when it comes to your physical health, like your body image is just one aspect of your physical health. You've got so many other elements of your physical health, like your cardio, your muscular endurance, your flexibility, your gut health, all these types of things. And so my problem is that, yes, PTs may be helping someone get a physical health change, but it's the smallest, that is so small compared to what they could do. It's so small. Like once they, and I don't mean, I'm not saying this in a way that sounds like judgmental, but once they have their eyes opened and they can see the impact that they can have that's beyond appearance and beyond physical health, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. Because like you touched on there, like when it comes to exercise, like you can learn so much from exercise. You can learn incredible life skills through exercise. We've got people going out in the community and working with drug and alcohol addiction units, and people working with adults who are looking for employability. And once we teach them these byproducts and these benefits from exercise, they are able to boost these life skills that can then be transferable to other areas of life. So when it comes to traditional PTs, it just frustrates me a little bit. Like I know sometimes I don't come across the best online because I know, and I've got this message, and I can be kind of like this. I need to sometimes be a little bit more passive in my approach when it comes to convincing people to my way of thinking.
We're all learning.
We're all learning. I've learned the hard way, but it frustrates me because I know, not because I believe that their ceiling is limited. It frustrates me because I know they are capable of so much more once given the tools, and that's going to be able to help so many other people. The thing that does annoy me, and I do get frustrated at, is when coaches are so trapped in their way of thinking that it just has to be about body image and nothing else, and they'll practice really rigid and strict nutritional regimes and really aggressive programming and gym sessions that could potentially damage the individual, that could cause eating disorders, could cause body image issues and exacerbate them. And they're so narrow-minded in the way that they think because that's the way that they've been taught, and God forbid someone challenges their way of working. And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to them wanting to protect their ego. Unfortunately, and the fitness industry has a lot of them. But that being said, oh my God, we've worked with some incredible coaches. We've worked with some amazing people who just get it. They know the fitness industry is moving towards a more holistic way, a more holistic approach. And God, if it wasn't for them working alongside this, we would not be anywhere near where we were if we didn't have this team of incredible coaches working on this mission with us. We've got an army now of almost 400 coaches across the UK who believe in this just as much as we do.
Wow.
And, if it wasn't for them and believing in us and our methods and taking a chance on us and reinventing what they do, and kind of and rediscovering a new way, or an old way of coaching, or a new way to coach, and kind of like revitalizing this mission that we're on, we wouldn't be anywhere compared to where we are now. So it's thanks to people that have, had the foresight to believe in what we're doing as well.
So say say James from 10 years ago turns up at a gymnasium. I like the name gymnasium.
I've been using that now.
I like gymnasium. I do. I have to be honest. I think there's something kind of ironically kitsch about gymnasium. Darling, I'm going to the gymnasium.
It's quite cute.
Pass me my singlet. So say James of 10 years ago turns up at a gym, and one of your PTs that you guys have trained, who's been through the course and knows what they're talking about. I turn up on day one, and let's just use me as an example. I have suffered from anxiety and panic attacks for most of my adult life. I have had a couple of PTs over the years. I've done bits and pieces, but I've not really done very much. I don't really know what I'm doing. My diet is shit. I'm drinking too much alcohol. I'm staying up late. I'm not looking after myself. My mental health is on the floor. What does a program look like for me?
It's a great question. Now, the thing is, although obviously it's so subjective because anyone's different.
Of course.
The great thing is that we have so much tools and frameworks in order to give a PT who's maybe even starting their career to be able to know how to identify and how to work with these people. So one of the first things that we need to do with people is to informally identify what they're struggling with, and we make it very clear, we are not therapists, we are not doctors, we are not prescribing medication, we are not giving a formal diagnosis, but we have so many tools within our arsenal to be able to identify where this individual is struggling and why they're struggling and what that came from. Now, one of the best things about exercise is that depending on the type of exercise you do, you can gain so much clarity and self-awareness. I don't know if you've ever had something just like buzzing around your head, like a problem or an issue or something that's frustrating you don't quite know the answer to, and you go to the gym, then all of a sudden you're like, bingo, I've got it, and you didn't even think. It was instinct, it was in there somewhere already. And that's because essentially when you exercise, it activates part of the brain that can be used for rumination, for thinking and drawing attention to these thoughts. So one of the first things that we teach our coaches to do is to use exercise as a tool to be able to give this individual self-awareness, or allow them to practice kind of the art of discovering self-awareness. Because a lot of the time, once we do that correctly, within the first couple of sessions, we are not going to identify why they've came. They are going to know why they've came. You know, we've had people that have come and trained with us who have been in the deepest, darkest rut and have no idea how they found themselves there. And then within a few sessions, they're like, oh my God, because it makes them objective. They can suddenly see everything clearly. Oh, it was this thing that happened 10 years ago. Oh, it's the fact that, I thought this life was destined for me and then it's not. And that's an incredibly powerful tool. So we want the individuals to gain self-awareness and understand why they're there. But when it comes to a more intentional practice from the coach, one of the first things that they really need to do is understand this person's true motives. Because the majority of people are going to come and they say, I want to look a certain way, I want to change my shape, I want to drop dress sizes, whatever that may be. And actually, although that's an amazing byproduct, like you've said, as soon as they feel more comfortable and confident in their own skin, amazing, right? What a fantastic goal. But actually, that's not often the real goal. The real goal is they just want to be happy. They want to be confident, So if we can move the goalposts from let's stop exercising to look a certain way and let's just start exercising but because we enjoy it, it becomes more intrinsic, it becomes more intuitive. They're therefore going to love exercise, therefore they build it as a habit, therefore they're going to be more consistent, therefore they're going to get the result. And look, we've changed the way that we look as well. Mm. The issue is that like so many people I speak to, James, are like, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z, or exercise hasn't worked. I'm like, did you enjoy it? And they're like, no. Like imagine if you hated doing this, right? Imagine if you fucking hated doing this podcast, then you had to drag yourself up at 6 a.m, even though you don't normally get up at 6 a.m, to do this podcast every single day. Would you do it? No. You'd stop after, you'd push through it, but after a while you'd stop.
The current James would crack on with it. But James of 10 years ago, fuck that.
No, you'd quit.
Yeah.
You'd stop. Yeah. So why is exercise seen as this punishment that we inflict on ourselves because we don't like the way that we look, as opposed to, something that's a privilege, that's a reward that we can, to move our bodies and become the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's a wonderful thing, but it is definitely a mindset thing. Going to the gym and being consistent, especially when you don't want to go. It's getting really cold outside now. It's November. It's miserable. I was in the gym at 5:30 this morning. Did I want to go to the gym this morning at 5:30? Did I? Bollocks. I didn't go anywhere near the gym this morning. But you're kind of you're sort of entering into almost like a non-verbal agreement with yourself. You're sort of going, right, the next 2 hours of our life is going to be bullshit. But tomorrow you'll thank me for this decision. It's that accountability that I think bleeds into the rest of our daily lives.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Have you? You sort of touched on it already, but you've had some clients come in who've been really on the sort of depths of despair.
One of my favourite clients is a woman called Karen, and the reason I always tell this story is because Karen's like the poster girl now, not just for our gym, but for the MHIC program that we developed on top of that, and for our award as well. So we show a video of Karen at the start. Any PT that signs up for a course, within the first 5 minutes of them starting their course days, they're seeing a video of Karen. And the video of Karen starts, it's all real footage, everything's real there. It's a recording, it's a screen recording of the very first voice note that she sent me. She's reaching out and she's crying in the voice note. She's saying, I'm desperate, I don't know where to turn. I worked as a midwife for 30 years, delivering healthy, safe babies into the world. And what happens when you wake up every single day putting other people first, you forget to put yourself first. And Karen did this for years. She started struggling with chronic depression. She ended up taking early retirement. she got a problem with her heart, lockdown hit. And the dark irony is that the one thing that could save her, the gym, is the one thing that could then damage her when it came to her heart as well. So she tried to go to a regular gym, couldn't go to a regular gym. She hated it. She felt like she wasn't welcome there. She reached out to me, sent this voice note, and we started focusing on these other metrics rather than the way that she looked. We started just getting her in the gym because she enjoyed it, getting her walking because she enjoyed it, giving her the confidence to get into the car and drive to the gym as opposed to walk. And essentially, I'd get her into the gym and I would give her these challenges, just like what you've spoken about there, that this next 2 hours is going to be shit, but I'm going to push through it. The framework is this. If you put someone through a deep, dark, difficult workout, right, where all they want to do is quit, all they want to do is give up, they're making up excuses, that directly resembles a bad day in life. So if they can push through that, if they can find this meaning in hardship, right, if they can find this workout really challenging but also achievable, if they can push through that and build this mental fortitude and resilience, they're going to learn how to apply that to everyday life. So within a few weeks, Karen was coming in, the bar on the floor that she previously couldn't lift off the floor, she was now pushing up above her head. And we built her confidence that much that I asked her to do a video for us. She agreed. She took a video saying, "This has saved my life." I shared it on Facebook and it went viral. And all of a sudden, I had people from all over central Scotland commenting on this video, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of comments saying, "Karen, I don't know if you remember me, but I remember you. You helped me deliver my baby girl 20 years ago. Thank you so much. Like, I'm so sorry you're struggling, but you were such a rock during that time." All comments like this. Because of that moment alone, we helped her come out of early retirement and get a part-time job. And she has now been off all antidepressant medication for 3 years for the first time in 30 years. And that's one of many, but she's my favourite. She's my favourite. It's an amazing story. I love her to death.
God bless Karen.
She's a legend.
Absolutely smashed it.
Basically, when we start the award course days, we have a bet on who's going to cry first. Because multiple people are bawling their eyes out because they see this video with the original voice notes.
It's nice to see that. It's nice to see that you still haven't lost that sadistic quality that I associate with PTs.
It's in there somewhere. Yeah, this is just the front. Get people on a course just to break them, make them cry.
Oh, mate, that's amazing. That really is amazing. Is it sort of goal based for the clients as well? Do they have specific goals? Because it's again, and I can only liken it to the sort of time that I've spent with your normal PT. Right, we're going to try and get you to be able to run this fast, or we're going to get you to lift that much, or that many reps, or whatever. Is there like sort of goals for your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So the interesting thing is that a lot of kind of these byproduct metrics, this happiness, confidence, courage, a lot of that the coach kind of is aware of behind the scenes. Sometimes the client isn't totally aware of it unless they've got, a wee worksheet that they want to fill out, rating their levels of happiness and confidence and things like that every single week. But yeah, when it comes to actually the training's this is the interesting thing, the training's very much the same. It's very much the same. It's just that the motive is different and the metrics are different. So,
okay.
Do you know what I mean? So like,
right.
So let's imagine you're a client and you come to me and you've got a fitness goal. We can still set that fitness goal, but it's a case that we'll still measure the things that you normally measure, but you're just going into it with a totally different perspective of actually these are the things that I'm wanting to be measured week on week. And it totally changes because when you're not 100% focused on making that weight in the bar go up, and I'm not saying don't focus on it, still do, but when you focus on these other metrics, that's what brings the enjoyment. And then that's how it becomes intrinsic and that's how everything comes together. But no, we still very much focus on performance-based things because when it comes to individuals struggling with serious body image issues, right, or even body dysmorphia, all of the research shows that in order to be able to treat this or manage it, or for some people even overcome these severe issues, you need to fall in love with what your body can do as opposed to the way that it looks.
Right.
And that's how you get body appreciation. So one of my favourite sayings is treat your body like an instrument, not an ornament. And that's how we get people to fall in love with their bodies for what they can do. Therefore, they don't attach their full worth to the way that they look, and then that's how you can overcome serious body image issues through exercise. So we do a ton of performance-based stuff as well, but it's with the right setting and with the right education, so the individuals knows why they're doing that type of training and for what reasons, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. It makes. Honestly, I wish I'd have had you sat in front of me 10 years ago. You could have saved me a lot of time. You really could.
Mental health PT.
No, but it's great. It's great. So do you have obviously, clients who are I don't know the sort of the depth of their depression or their mental health issues. Do you also encourage them to talk as well? Because that, for me, is the biggest one. Is that often I think when we are trapped in a pit of despair and we're in our own heads, and look, you've been through some shit in your time as well. The mind can be a really lonely place. It can be a really unhappy place to be trapped in your own head all day. I guess what I'm asking is, there's a worry that people come to these classes and for the duration of that class they're doing really well and they're communicating and they're happy, but then they go away and they still bottle up all of this stuff and they don't talk. Is there a connection there that you guys try and make?
Yeah, 100%. So if you do not talk about your emotions, the simplest way of putting it is they become catastrophized. They're exacerbated. When you don't talk about these emotions and these feelings or these thoughts, they're stored in a different part of the brain, and you ruminate over them, but in a bad way, or you totally shunt them away and don't focus on them, which then makes them into a monster as well. We've all been there when there's something that we don't want to face, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse in our own heads until we finally speak to someone about it, and it's like, oh my God, the pressure valves are released. That's what happens with all negative emotions or memories or thoughts, pretty much.
You become them.
Yeah, you do. You
become your thoughts.
Yeah.
Your thoughts become your energy and your vibration, and that becomes your intrinsic truth. You start to live what you're putting out and what's going on in here. And as soon as you can articulate that to someone, oh my God, that kind of phrase of, you feel like a weight's been lifted off you. It's legit.
Yeah, and I think this is a great frame that I learned, is that if you aren't talking about how you feel, you are living your story, right? But if you can tell your story. And as soon as you can articulate your story, you can become objective. And all of a sudden it's, now I can view this issue in the same way that my friend could view this issue. It's no longer you.
Yeah.
It's out there in the ether. So what we get our coaches to do is, so we train them up in something known as IET, which stands for Informal Exercise Therapy. So we teach up our coaches into all of these skills that, a counsellor may have when it comes to, communication skills, how to ask open questions, how to be better listeners as opposed to just try to advise all the time. Even things to do with like their body language, like all these things we train up our coaches.
Wow.
So then that means that then they're able to have this conversation with people during exercise. And it's going to happen because the environment's right. There's trust there because they're a mental health and exercise coach. So they already trust them to be able to support them with their mental health. And because they're exercising, they are releasing these endorphins, they're releasing serotonin, which is going to put them in a more positive frame of mind, which means that they're more likely to share. It also means they're going to be more honest. So if me and you went out for a walk, I would open up to you way more just naturally than I would if we were sitting here, because we're walking, we're side on, the environment's different, we're exercising. So everything in the brain's totally different.
I never thought of that.
So we're more likely to share. So one of the criticisms we had when we first launched the award was a lot of people. So we did get a lot. Because a lot of people were like, well, you're not actually training them to be counsellors, therefore you're going to open Pandora's box. And I said, no, people are talking in these sessions anyway because of their exercising and they're more likely to share. What we're doing is now getting the coach to be able to support them and know where to take that conversation next. And if they do need to have a more serious mental health intervention, then we'll do that and we'll get a counsellor, a therapist involved, because we do have limitations for what we can do. But we're in the perfect place to be able to identify someone struggling. If someone has body image issues, who are they likely to tell? Their fucking PT. If someone is struggling with exercise, what are they going to do? Join a gym. We're the perfect person to have an early intervention. So we have to be trained up in this. And it's not opening up Pandora's box. It's giving us the skills to be able to deal with the inevitable conversation that's going to happen.
You're giving people permission.
Yeah.
You're giving clients permission. You're saying this is a safe space. I am a safe, trusted person. If you want to chat, let's have a chat. What could be more perfect than that? What advice would you give? I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, but what would you say to someone? First of all, is this all over the country now? You've got these PTs, or is it just Scotland?
Yeah, all over the country. So we've got I'm acting like I don't know the exact number.
Oh God, what could it possibly be?
Including our PT course, we're at 485. As of the other day, 385. Sorry, 385.
Wow.
Although I've rounded up, so we're at 400. And this is UK wide, but we also have coaches in the Middle East. We've got coaches in Australia, the States. We've got a coach in New Zealand. We've got coaches in Switzerland, France. Yeah, so we're UK based, and those people have came naturally through word of mouth. It's our strategy over the next couple of years to be able to roll that out.
Wow.
Globally.
That's amazing, mate. That's fantastic. I was going to say, if someone's listening to this and they're struggling with something, going through some sort of mental health crisis, maybe they've had some trauma, whatever it is, they're going through some shit. A lot of people that I speak to, and I get DMs all the time, especially from guys, who are looking to make improvements and looking to change things, but they're fucking terrified of going to the gym. That is a massive one. Surely that's a big struggle. What do you do? How do you get people to come to the gym?
Yeah, it's the biggest barrier. It's one of the biggest barriers. So again, this is one of the first things that I will teach personal trainers who, are incessantly and excessively all over their Instagram every single day, just, bombarding people with come hire me as a coach, come hire me as a coach, come hire me as a coach. And I say to people, you could put up an advertisement tomorrow saying, I'm going to train every single one of you following me for the next 12 months for free. And I said, you'll still get majority of people will not reach out to you because it's nothing to do with the price. The main barrier, that's not to suggest that price is a barrier. Of course it is for many people, especially the cost of living prices that we've been going through. But it's never really down to that. It's to do with people being put off exercise from an early age, hating the way that they look in gym clothes, being terrified of going to the gym. Basically, it's 50% of people that don't go to the gym. This is a real stat. 50% of people that don't go to the gym don't go because they find the idea of going too scary.
Yeah.
So the advice that I would give is that it's the same as all other things. It's the exact same thing as if you were learning to drive. It's going to the gym is almost like a skill that you need to master. You need to be able to walk through those doors, because the more things that you do that you don't want to do, the less things there will be that you don't want to do.
Nice.
So thank you. You got there. I was trying to work that.
Your mouth was getting ahead of your brain then for a second.
That's a common trait of mine. But in that being said, there will be people who will just never go to the gym.
Yeah.
And there's so many other forms of exercise that they can do. The amount of people that we've got who were too scared to come to a gym, but they used to dance when they were younger. And I mean, I would go into gym every single day of the week. If you told me to go to dance class, that would terrify me. But to them, that was a previous normal for them. Yeah. So that's movement, that's exercise. Anything that gets you moving is exercise. It doesn't have to take place in a gym. And there's so many things that you can do outdoors as well, to connect with nature, that are going to be such a natural, nice way for you to move. But our goal is we will always still try to get someone into that gym, because if we just avoid it and say, well, it's okay, we'll just find an alternative solution, you're not tackling that issue at the core, which is them being too scared to go into the gym, which is perfectly natural. So that's one of the main things that we do need to try and overcome. But this is where the coaches come in. So it's not just on that individual. So they can go out and they can meet them in the car park, rather than stand and wait for the busy weight section. One of the first things that I would always do with clients, and people used to think I was really mean for it, one of the first things I would always do was get the clients down in the strength conditioning area on the very first session. Because then once they see it, it's not actually that scary. Yeah. And once you teach them something, I used to love getting to teach them to do like a glute bridge, like lying on the ground glute bridge, because you can rack the bar up fucking heavy, by the way. There's no fear involved, because if they can't lift the weight, they just drop the bum down again. That's it. And all of a sudden they're pushing, 80 kilos, 100 kilos in the very first session, and they're looking around and there's maybe a guy who's only squatting 60 kilos or something like that. And they're like, oh my God.
I'm a beast.
Yeah, and what an amazing way to kind of throw them out their comfort zone, but in a controlled environment.
Yeah. the free weight section, that was always, everyone I speak to, you know, they're always terrified of the free weight section.
The man's section, as it used to get
the
called.
blokey section. It's not the blokey section. I work out of I don't go to a commercial gym anymore. I go to a fancy gym. And it's
fancy gymnasium in your leotard.
Okay. In my mankini. One bollock hanging out. I'm not allowed back. But no, it's but I love seeing that we have such a wide variety of people who train in this gym that I train in. We have older fellas, we have women who come in when they're, you know, noticeably visibly pregnant. We have people at all different varying degrees. There's sort of a shared kind of, no one gives a fuck. If you walk through those doors, you get the respect of everybody, and that's something that I'm really keen to pass on to people that haven't been to a gym before. It's like, this is a really safe environment. Like, nobody's looking at you, nobody's laughing at you, no one's thinking you don't know what you're doing, or, you know, oh, look at the size of her. No one gives a shit. We're all battling our own demons. We've all got stuff going on. You know, even me, I'm in the gym 5 days a week, but there are some days where I'll be sat on a machine and just thinking, oh, God, you know, I've got that bill to pay, or I've got that, or, you know, we're all in our own heads. And it's getting people out of their own heads that seems to be one of the biggest ambitions of what you guys do, is getting people out of their own heads, being present, being mindful. Because I think this is probably part of the reason why it's such a success, is that a lot of your clients and a lot of the people that will come to you will be worried about shit that might happen or obsessing over shit that has happened. But when you come to the gym, like you said before, you get that clarity, and all of a sudden you might solve that problem, or you might find some way of dealing with something. It's because you're only dealing with the here and now. And that, I think, is the most beautiful part of exercising.
100%. And I think the thing is, like, if it came down to kind of like an overall goal, like, should I say this? Yeah, I'll say it. Ben's going to get me into trouble. We had an event a couple of years ago, right? First massive event. We've been putting on loads of courses, and
Ben's left the room.
And we had a full room full of people that had been trained up and been taught, right? I got a little bit giddy. In other words, absolutely pissed. And I went to stand up. I was swaying about with my beer in front of all these people. And the point I was trying to make was that this is so much more than mental health. This is about gym inclusivity. But I stood up and fucking swaying about. And I'm like, this has got fuck all to do with mental health. And he came and grabbed me. I was like, sit down now. Don't speak anymore. But the point, I stand by the point that I was trying to make is that our mission is so much greater than that. Like, mental health is the vehicle, right? Mental health is the tool that we're able to use. But this is about making gyms more accessible. It's about making exercise more accessible. It's about making exercise more inclusive. It's about this whole body positivity movement. Like, so many people misinterpret it, and they think, oh, you're encouraging people to be obese and physically unwell. And we're like, no, we're not. We're encouraging people that no matter what shape and size you are, you have a right to be in the gym, and you have a right to exercise, and you should be proud of who you are right now, whilst you're still striving to be the best version of yourself and striving to be fit and healthy.
That's the key.
And people misinterpret that
That's
message.
It. Being the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
That, above all else, that has to be the message.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Thanks
Well
very much.
That's not what you said when you stood up pissed, is it?
That was bad. Anyway, yeah.
We've all done things.
The mic gets taken off me now.
We've all done things we're not proud of. Don't worry about it.
That's mild. We'll do podcast after hours, and that's when the
is that when the truth?
That's when the worst stories come out. Yeah.
Oh mate, no, this is really, really good. So this business is already global. You're already popping up in different countries.
Yeah. If I'm wanting to brag, yes. If I'm wanting to, kind of focus the mission ahead, then I'll say no. We've dipped our toe in.
Mate, that's fantastic. When you look back at your how old are you, by the time I'm asking? Come on.
How old am I? 30. No, that's not 33. I'm 33.
Why are you asking him? Why don't you know how old you are? What happened in Wigan? What happened in Wigan? You don't even know how old you are. What I was going to say was, right.
Time stood still. It's been a long day.
When you look back, I think it is important to look back. Actually, I think there's a lot of I read a lot of literature around positivity and around mindfulness and the power of meditation and things like that. And a lot of that is about looking forward and being present. But actually, I think it is really helpful to look backwards sometimes. When you look back to the lad who was wanted to have a promising football career and got involved in various bits and pieces and wasn't taking
extracurricular activities.
That's such a good way of putting it. How's that journey feel for you now, man? Because it is important to look backwards and see and remember where you came from. Remember how far you've come.
Yeah, I went sober for a year. I'm not sober anymore. It's the best thing I've ever done. I encourage anyone to go sober just to realise the reason why you drink. And I love this saying, it's not it's you don't have a drink or drug problem, you have a you problem. And I solved what the me problem was in the last 12 months, and I've been able to find the balance again. But I remember at one point in the last 12 months, there was a video of me. I was just walking the dog. I was dressed all scruffy. It was like pissing down with rain. And I watched the video back, and I remember kind of like, I've never like, it's not that I've disliked myself, but I remember if I would ever sometimes see like videos of me and stuff, there was kind of like, it wasn't like self-deprecation, but there was kind of just like an uneasiness and kind of a little bit of an irritability about who I was. Anyway, when I watched this video, this was maybe about 8 months ago, and the first time ever I looked at that, I was like, I fucking like that guy. Like, I was really proud of who I was. I was just out walking the dog. I was just really proud of who I was in that moment. So I feel like now I'm really appreciative of what I've been through because I have a lot of the answers now. When you don't have the answers, there's still quite a lot of, not regrets, but a little bit of resentment. Like, there's definitely, I do have regrets about some of the things that I did when I was younger, but it's all brought me here to where I am now. And not, to go cliche and say everything happens for a reason, but, I'm only sitting here today because I have ADHD. I'm only sitting here today because I almost went to jail. I'm only sitting here today because, I dropped out of uni like multiple times, and it's got me into the place that I need to be. So I feel like I am proud of it now. There will be times where me and Ben have had a few drinks and I just excessively apologise to him about how much of a bad mate I was 10 years ago, and he tells me to stop. But it's cathartic. It's cathartic.
It's growth.
Yes, it's growth.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was such a prick 10 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, I am proud.
Good.
I am guilty of putting a lot of pressure on myself. I don't take enough time to appreciate the here and now because it's always what's next. But I have said my goal for 2025 is to stop just, trying to change the world and, spend a little bit more time appreciating it instead.
Practice some gratitude. Practice
What I preach.
I don't want to say, but you've written a whole fucking course about this. The least you could do is practice it yourself. But it's true, we do. We're always. I don't think any of us are satisfied. It's funny, I've had a pretty decent career by anyone's standards. I've not had to take a normal job, in the best part of 20 years. My last proper job was in 2003, and I was selling suspended ceiling tiles. In a little market town in Staffordshire. So if you ever need to know anything about ceiling tiles, I'm your guy. I don't know why you'd need to know about ceiling tiles, but there we go. But no, it's nice. It's nice to feel. It's nice to feel proud of yourself, I think, and I think a lot of that does come down to feeling grateful. I think the two things go hand in hand. I think when you do sit down in your quiet moments, down and you think about what you have got, what you're building, and the relationships, the friendships that you've still got, and you've managed to hold on to these friendships for such a long time. That in itself, that's testament to who you are as a man, And I think often we just get bogged down and we're never satisfied and we're always looking for the next thing, and we're not. Just got to slow down, just appreciate where we are and what we've got. You've got your health. I read something a little while ago, it really stuck with me, and it was, some guy who was like, some guy who had terminal cancer and was like, I would just give anything to just wake up one more morning, just feeling fit and healthy. Yeah. Just one more morning, so every day, or not every day, but a lot that comes into my thoughts in the morning. I think I wake up and I think, I'm okay, I get to go to the gym. What a thing that is, I get to put my body through this. As you said before, exercise should be a celebration, not something to mourn. God, how lucky are we that we get to go to the gym?
Yeah, this is the best way to say it. Exercise is a privilege, not a punishment.
100%.
And it's true. You asked about some of the things that we'll do with clients, and one of the first things that we get a lot of them to do, this is going to sound a wee bit cheesy, but once we're really struggling with the body image, we get them to write a love letter to their body. It sounds so cheesy, but it's, if they start to think about my body, takes care of me when it's sick, I'm able to do this, like, thank you so much. We've got people saying you supported me through childbirth, you gave me like the gift to be able to give birth, and all these kind of amazing things. My body heals me, it repairs broken bones. And a lot of these people, once they kind of again remove the emphasis away from my body is this kind of materialistic thing that determines my happiness because it's based on my appearance and therefore my worth, and instead change it to my body as a vehicle that supports me and gets me from A to B. That's one of the most amazing ways that they can flip the mindset about having like poor body image issues. So I'd encourage anyone listening to try that exercise. It sounds a bit cheesy, but honestly do it. It can be transformative because you totally flip your perception of what you view your body's role in your life as.
Well, I think once you identify that, and once you start to speak more kindly about your body, the same thing with your mind as well. You start to show it a certain level of respect, because that's the other thing as well, is that when we're going through these tough times, when we're not looking after ourselves, we're not showing our bodies and our brains any respect. And once you have that kind of honest, open conversation, and honestly, I don't think writing a love letter to your body is a cheesy thing at all. I think that's a really nice thing to do, because you're committing it to paper as well. There's something tangible and real and solid in front of you that says my body is capable of wonderful things. Well, let's start showing it some fucking respect.
Yeah.
Let's see how far we can take this, because that's something that I've really learned, and I'm so proud of myself over the past 3 or 4 years, certainly post-COVID. I treat my body with a hell of a lot more respect. I put it through hell for 2 hours a day. I mean, fucking brutal. Horrible things I do to my body in that gym. But I do that out of love, and I do that out of respect. And that's what we need to pass on, I think.
Yeah. There's a great saying. It's treat your body, or treat yourself like $1 million racehorse. Because if you think about it, if you had $1 million racehorse, what would you do? You would allow it to roam outdoors, you'd feed it the best food, you would give it the best training, you would make sure it was looked after, you would, take such good care of it. We've only got one body, so why are we not doing that for ourselves?
I love that, mate.
You can have that one.
Okay, pass that on.
I stole it, so it's fine.
We're all just borrowing. Mate, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been good. It's been nice change of scenery. Only got lost once, so we're fine.
And I wish you every success. And I know it's going to go from strength to strength, because it's a brilliant thing that you're doing, and you're making a real positive, tangible impact on a lot of people. Long may that continue.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that.